Well, 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 if it isn't the Blowjob Brothers. Hey everyone. This video is to compare and contrast the differences between two speedruns. My first world record I achieved about a year and a half ago, to where my latest world record is, posted about a month ago with a 35-second improvement. It's the culmination of a lot of testing and work between the small but passionate community. Much of the honor and recent discoveries goes to the opponent, who also runs the same character as me, and Captain Gordon, who runs a different character, but it allowed me to glean different approaches to the run itself. Additionally, I'm only focusing specifically on my runs. There were serious attempts made before mine, but because there's no guides, posts that explain the tech around that time, I can't claim to know what they were thinking or attempting entirely. So, yes. This is very me-focused. With that said, let's jump into the video. The differences between my first elevator action return speedrun world record and my most recent world record. Before the game even begins, we have our first optimization. Playing on the player 2 side instead of player 1. As you can see here, player 2 starts off slightly further to the right. For the most part, this doesn't matter because elevator cycles prevent you from getting ahead. It just makes some cycles easier. Where this does affect the run is on stage 3 and stage 1, which is exactly where our run begins. Hehe. At the very start of stage 1, instead of running onto the elevator, this is optimized by being player 2 and walking onto the elevator instead. Later in the stage, this changes the elevator cycle so you don't have to wait. After that part, and when the building explodes, the new route goes down 2 floors on this elevator instead of 1 and jumps through the gap. Similar to the first trick, this changes an elevator cycle at the end of the level where the last elevator is going down with the player instead of the opposite direction. On the left side, the old run catches the elevator at the top floor while the new route catches it at a lower floor. The new route is able to exit the stage just a little bit faster, and that does it for stage 1. Stage 2 starts out the same until we get to the jetpack enemy swarm, where the setup is a bit different. The old run moves to the left and looks to potshot anyone who can be hit from there. The new run places Jad in the middle to intentionally focus on hitting enemies who jump up from the ground. If you shoot them out of midair, they die in 1 hit. If you let them land, they take 3 or 4 hits to kill instead. The barrels to the left are preserved for a bit. This helps focus on one side of enemies so you can focus on shooting them out of midair on the other side. Also, by being in the middle, it evens out the amount of time for grounded enemies to walk close enough to spawn. In the old run, grounded enemies from the right have to walk all the way across the screen before jumping due to the positioning. Next up on the plane, the old run dashes all the way to the left side of the airplane and begins shooting, hitting every enemy on screen. The new run has a specific positioning though. By lining up the guns flared across a specific background line, the enemies behind Jad will just leave. This allows you to save all your shots for the enemies spawning on the right side while despawning enemies to the left who are effectively defeating themselves. Once the red jetpack comes in, you drop 3 bombs to kill him as fast as possible. The old run just continues to shoot, which takes about 5 shots on the red jetpack. The remainder of the level is effectively the same, thereby completing stage 2. Stage 3 is the other stage where player 2 matters. If you play as fast as possible, player 2 is actually too fast for the elevator cycles and will cause you to miss an elevator early in the stage. Player 1 doesn't have this problem. If you play very cleanly, you make the cycle every time, but playing near perfectly, on the other hand, takes a lot of practice. This is a fixable problem as player 2. You need to slow down just enough to make sure you can make this elevator we have to jump for here. You can see both players are basically in sync as there's just enough time to barely jump for it. If you're too fast, it'll leave before you can reach it, and it forces you to wait for all 3 elevators here to be in the right position, anywhere from a 9 to a 21 second time loss. The rest of the stage is very similar, up to this point. Here. At the top floor, the new run goes to the left instead of to the right. Going up the left side sets you up for a better cycle for the elevator that we talk about next. We hold this elevator down until the elevators to the upper left of the screen move upward. This sets up a consistent cycle to make sure that we can catch all the following elevators up until the boss. Ironically enough, the old run unintentionally falls into this timing because it missed the elevator before the elevator the new run holds down. Life is just funny sometimes. This leads us to the boss fight, which has a completely different setup between the old run and the new run. In the old run, I go up to the top right immediately, I jump on the robots, I die? What the fuck? And then I shoot the barrels just before the enemies descend. From there, taking out the enemies with bombs and gunfire until they're finished. There's no real game plan, just trying to hit the red jetpacks where possible. In the new run, I go up to the second floor and set up a couple of bombs. These will explode the top level barrels when I need them, as the bombs take some time to explode. This is needed because I'll be positioning myself on the bottom floor compared to the top floor. While this is still a working theory, it feels like there's a floor here that keeps the enemies more boxed in at the bottom, since they make like Han and can only go so low. Once the barrels explode, I also destroy the light box to the right. Another working theory is that the enemies may despawn faster after they die due to the game trying to cram more in for the bonus points while the lights are out. All theories, but so far this has proven faster more often than not. Once the red jetpacks are in, I intentionally space out my shots to catch them after their invulnerability ends so I can chain multiple shots before they start flying around again. This is more of a play by feel thing. Eventually, they go down, we go up, and stage 3 is history. Editor Me appreciates this stage. There's only one change for this stage.
Ignoring that I screwed up a trick for the first time in months.
After seeing how it's supposed to be done, we make it through most of the stage before we get to our one change. In the old run, we throw the bombs against the enemies at the top of the elevator. In the new run, we throw the bomb against the wall instead of directly against the enemies. This fans out the bomb fragments further and has great chances to hit all enemies, though it's still ultimately random. The rest of the stage is exactly the same, and we finish stage 4 in style. This first section is time intensive. After the first drop, the old run takes the elevator on the right, which slows things down because it puts another elevator in your way. So, the new run takes the elevator on the left, circumventing that problem entirely. This makes a world of difference in this stage, helping to set up for the upcoming 5 elevator room. In my old run, we take the elevator down as normal and, again, take an accidental death. In the new run, it's important to make sure you land on the elevator when it's coming up. You can land and run off of it when it's about halfway to avoid dying. More importantly, it moves the screen in a specific way that's needed to cheat the next section. Next, you take a hit here. This provides the invincibility to drop down a floor and prevents the screen from scrolling. This sets up the upcoming 5 elevator room at the bottom of the screen for the new run. Coming back to the old run, to make sure the 5 elevators come back in a decent amount of time, I weight a floor above it to create a fake bottom floor for the elevators below. This ensures they return to the top faster so we can cross the gap. We run across, into the door, and quickly run out with the invincibility to drop down to the elevators and run across to the right side where the next red door will be after we take the elevator down. After that door, I take the elevator back up to get to the furthest left elevator so I can continue from there. In the new run, the elevators haven't moved because of the earlier setup making the elevators think they can't move because they believe they're at the bottom of the screen. I run over to the last elevator, take it back up, visit the door, then start taking the elevator down. I go until I'm on the same floor as the red door and take a death. This death warps me directly to the door. After exiting the door, I drop down and meet the left elevator at the ground floor so I can continue from there. The next segment is the same until the approach to the last door in the stage. The old run takes a hit to gain invincibility in an attempt to airwalk to the platform a floor below, but fails. Instead, the invincibility from the death allows a drop to the elevator that's available now. Ironically, on the new run, a mistake is made with a currently known setup to wait for the bottom right elevator to trick itself into thinking it's on the bottom floor, similar to earlier. I'm supposed to wait on the top floor for that elevator to go down again before taking this elevator down. This makes it so that the elevator will come up right as I'm approaching it. Instead, it goes down further. Taking a similar cue to the old run, I take a death here, then successfully airwalk onto the midway platform to continue the stage. I take the elevator down, then jump start it back up to scroll the screen. This is a specific setup for the rest of the stage to make each floor's elevators think it's on the bottom floor yet again, preventing it from moving for longer and to avoid waiting. In the old run, the elevator is not jump started. Because the screen isn't preventing the next elevator from moving, this means waiting on nearly every floor for the elevator action returns. The stage finishes without much of a hitch otherwise, and this is the last of Stage 5. Stage 6, the final stage of the game. The first difference is which elevator to take in the long elevator shaft. The new run takes the rightmost elevator closest to where you exit, and the old run takes the leftmost elevator. Originally, I thought that you might as well take the leftmost elevator at the top while it's clear of any sort of enemies or hazards, but instead, by taking the rightmost elevator, you negate a point of RNG that can slow you down. Note where the bombs are being thrown here on the second and ground floors. In the old run, you need an enemy to spawn here to take the elevator down. If this doesn't happen, or the enemy doesn't take the elevator down, you have to slow down so the elevator doesn't crush you. For the new run, the elevator cycle can still be ruined by an enemy spawn, but that problem is completely prevented by dropping those proximity bombs that was mentioned earlier in case an enemy does spawn. In another twist, the old run tricks the elevator 2 floors up into thinking that it's reached the top floor by reaching the top of the screen. So what is being done here is faster, but it's currently not known how to get this cycle intentionally. Just happened to try something new at that time, and it happened to work.
Luck is a skill.
A quick jump start here lets the elevator return more quickly as we enter the final boss area. While there were mistakes made on the new run, the old and new pathing is basically the same leading up to the final boss himself, with us armed with a new setup. Throughout the stage, the new run conserves more rocket launcher ammo. As we get to the end, we'll see a couple rockets shoot up towards the top of the screen. These 2 rockets hit the boss below his platform, allowing for a couple hits on the way up. And y'all, rockets are very cool. They have an active hitbox that lasts for a very long time, and they also have the property to delete any bullets that it passes by. So we walk onto the platform and time our shots with the red suits to delete his bullets. Then the rocket hits the wall behind him, which we need to destroy anyway, and the explosion lasts long enough to hit him on the first frame possible. Once the wall breaks, I fire a few more to make sure I don't miss the timing to hit him once again, and then once he's done, it only takes one rocket and a single gunshot to blow up the panel behind him. Once we reach the top in the old run, we use the bombs to do a similar but very different setup. By throwing the bombs at the wall behind the red suit, the bombs will explode automatically. Just like the rockets, this does damage to the wall and the boss at the same time. And by standing in the boss's personal space, he has trouble hitting the player back. So we time the bombs for when he's vulnerable, and then afterwards, we use the gun to destroy the panel. This fires off the rocket, and closes out the elevator action return speedrun. The old time clocks in at 13 minutes, 39 seconds, and 18 milliseconds. And the new time clocks in at 13 minutes, 4 seconds, and 89 milliseconds. Despite being such a short run, even 35 seconds has taken over a year and multiple folks' effort to get it down to this point. And it doesn't stop here, for me or the other runners. The opponent is working on a full speedrun video guide for all 3 characters, and is looking to further optimize the character Eddie in the process. And Captain Gordon is the first to get a sub 13 in all of the elevator action return speedruns, adding a bunch of new techniques and routings for their character Cart. A new runner, Seppo Kalevi 7, has pushed their time down to get second place with Cart, and we've gotten to see a few other 1cc runs submitted as well. Elevator Action Returns punches back insanely well against its age of 30 years. Especially with its re-release on Steam in 2022, the first time I played it, there's no better time than the present to appreciate this game. I hope you enjoyed, and maybe even take the time to give this game a try on whatever platform.
But if you're aiming to speedrun it, you might not want to get it on that Steam version I just mentioned.
Okay, bye!